All right, I just finished The Last of Us, episode 9 on HBO, and we're going to have a hot takes discussion on why I didn't like it. Quick note by Editor John here, and that's that I do end up spoiling everything from the show, and I do talk about the first game, although I don't spoil anything in the second game. I just wanted to make it clear that if you're looking for a non-spoiler review of the TV show, look elsewhere, because I completely spoil the show, and I do reference the first game quite a bit, and so that could spoil the game for you too. So if that's, not something you want to see, that's fine. Tune out now. Thank you. Welcome back to Hot Takes Discussion. I'm John Palladino, and if you like the video, maybe like it, maybe subscribe. And as always, comment down below with any of your thoughts. So, The Last of Us, the HBO adaptation of the video games. What did I think? Well, let's be frank. I was not the biggest fan. I thought it was an excellent show. I thought it was a terrible adaptation of a story. And I'm not one of those people that necessarily cares if an adaptation is faithful or not. I just want the story to be good. And the short way to explain this is I just think they really flubbed the Joel and Ellie relationship. To me, it just didn't feel that genuine. It never felt that genuine. Honestly, I had a hard time with the Ellie character in particular. I thought Joel was very well done for the most part. But the writing of Ellie, to me, just never really landed. It's like they played the video games and they realized, oh, she's kind of this, sassy character. She's kind of a strong woman who, or a strong girl rather, who can really hold her own, and she's sassy and sarcastic. And while that's true, that's only half of the character in the video game, but it felt like that was the whole character in the show. And that, to me, really took out a lot of the more, innocent type feeling Ellie, which is fine. It's just a different character. But then they tried to do in the show, one or two of those, innocent moments where maybe she was ignorant or trying to have fun as a kid, and it was just really hard to buy for me because she never felt like a kid throughout the show ever, really, even though they kept calling her a child and treating her like one. And I don't know if it's the writing or the acting or what. I don't really know. Bella Ramsey, she was in Game of Thrones, and I saw her in that role, and I always wonder if that role kind of soured Ellie for me, because that role she played spectacularly, but the character was, a fierce, strong leader type character. I can't remember who she played, but it was a leader of one of the Stark vassals, I think. And it was great in that show, but for Ellie, I don't know. It just felt like the character was missing something. But aside from Ellie being not the Ellie from the game, there's also the Joel and Ellie relationship, which I want to talk about real quick. To me, in the show, this relationship was not explored in the way that it should have been. We got a lot of Ellie and Joel content throughout the show, different things happening. But for me, a lot of it just never landed. And I think a big reason why is because we didn't get to see... I think we didn't really get to see the transition. It's Joel first just doesn't want anything to do with her. And then all of a sudden he's in episode 8, I think, he's hugging her, calling her baby girl, and you're just like, what? And you can see somewhat of a transition when he gets to the town with Tommy, I suppose. But it was never believable to me. There was never this, moment that clicked. In the video game, I think the moment where it clicks, and I could be very wrong here. It's been so long since I played the video game. But I remember seeing somewhere that the part where Ellie is captured by the guy... I forgot his name, but he's the leader of the Raiders, I guess. The bad people that are cannibals. The religious guy. And there's the part where she's killing him, right? The building's burning, and she's stabbing him. And then she gets up and leaves and runs into Joel. Well, in the video game, Joel actually walks in on her stabbing him. He takes her and pulls her away, and it's a lot more emotional. You know, he sees what's happening, and they have a much more emotional bond over that. I feel like in this one, it kind of, I don't know, it just didn't feel the same, I guess. You didn't get that sense that Joel understood the horror that happened. And also, let's talk about the horror, because in the video game, that whole section felt way more terrifying than in the show. And that's true of a lot of these moments, right? So she gets captured, but in the space of like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, she's freed, right? She escapes. In the video game, it feels a lot more powerful. I think it's A, because I think it's a longer period of time, but B, it just feels a lot more, I don't know, emotional and tense and stuff. In the show, it just kind of feels like they were fast-forwarding everything, right? It was only 9 episodes. And let's talk about the episodes for a minute, because that's another flaw. It's only 9 episodes. And in those 9 episodes, you have 2 episodes that really add nothing to the story, right? You have episode 3, which I loved. I think episode 3 was my favorite episode of the show as just an episode. But it added nothing to the story, right? It was the background about, to refresh anyone's memory, it was the gay background with Bill and I forgot the other guy's name, but they kind of, it shows them like growing their relationship together. They encounter each other, they distrust each other, and then by the end they're lovers, right? And Bill ends up killing his lover and presumably himself. But why did we need a whole hour of that, right? If that doesn't actually affect anything else in the show, right? So when I first saw that episode, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Bill's going to come back, and it's going to be this cool continuation, because we didn't see Bill die. And it didn't, to me, seem like Bill died. But here's the thing. It never matters. Nothing from that moment matters in the rest of the show. So we just wasted an episode on that, which, again, amazing standalone story. Useless when it comes to Joel and Ellie, though. Then you have episode 7. I might have the episode number wrong, but you'll remember it because it's the flashback when Ellie is with Riley, right? This flashback is to show a couple things. First, how Ellie got bitten and infected. Second, to show that she's a lesbian, I think, with Riley. I think that's why they're showing this. I think this episode was actually a DLC of the game. I don't think I played it. I don't remember. That becomes important in the season 2, I think. So perhaps that's why they wanted to spend an entire hour on it. But to me, it seemed like an episode that maybe should have been in season 2. Because it really didn't add like anything to season 1. It took away from season 1, especially where they inserted it. Right, you have Joel who's like dying, and Ellie who's like, "Shit, I don't know what to do." And then instead of resolving that, instead of spending time with injured Joel, instead of really building that relationship up, we're gonna cut to this flashback and ignore everything that's been happening. So we do that, and then episode 8 happens, and it's almost like they decided, oh shit, we don't have time to actually let this relationship kind of blossom while Joel is injured. We're going to have her go out and get captured, right? Why? I don't get it. So instead, we fast forward through what could have been an amazing character building thing. And they do it again in the finale, right? In the finale, this is my biggest problem with the show, I think, is the finale. Everything up to when the Fireflies capture Joel and Ellie is spectacular. You get the giraffe scene, which is cool. You actually got some character building between the relationship, which I thought was awesome. And then they get ambushed and captured and taken into the hospital. And then we get a 2.5-minute scene of Marlene and Joel, and it's the most sped up, most ridiculous thing ever. She's like, Ellie's in surgery, and they're going to find a cure. And Joel's like, oh my God, no way. And Marlene's like, yep, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. And he's like, oh shit, that sucks. And she's like, yeah, well, you know. And, like, I also understand that in that moment it's kind of implied that Ellie is maybe probably going to die from it. But in the game, it's so clear. It's so well reasoned. It's so told, like, in such strength. I don't know. In this show, I just did not believe that conversation was reasonable for Joel to all of a sudden just get up and start killing everybody. I get what they were doing, but compared to the game, this scene was so bad. And then the slaughter itself was kind of not great, I thought, compared to the game. And then the encounter outside with Marlene was also, I thought, not great. I don't know. I just thought the game did it so much better. So that was my opinion of the finale. Now let's talk about the rest of the show. Where the fuck was the Infected? The Infected was such a big part of the actual show, right? They were everywhere. Now, I think of The Last of Us as having like 4 different types of people or events maybe. So you have like settlements, which is where they start the show. That's like where all the people kind of that are rational maybe live, just trying to keep living in a society. Then you have the kind of crazy loners maybe, the survivalists, like people like Bill. So episode 3 really focused on that type of group. And they are just kind of spread throughout the world. Then you have like the raiders and the, you know, the bad people who have like kind of their own little communities, but it's not really like a settlement, and it's generally based on violence. You know, we kind of saw that with the cannibals, and they're like a big threat about going out there. And so you kind of see that in the show a lot more than the 4th group, which is actually not people, but the Infected. So the Infected are like a serious risk in every single major city. And they go to several major cities, and you never see any Infected. It's so weird. And you just don't see hardly any Infected throughout the show. You see them in the first, like, episode or 2, and then you just never see them again. And why? It was so weird. I thought that was the strangest thing. And the show really needed more of the Infected, I thought. So I think overall the world just felt empty. They kept traveling, and they just never really encountered anything. And it sucked, because it could have been a lot better, I think. And I truly believe that a large part of that problem is that they had only 9 episodes. If they had 12 episodes, I think we could have put in a lot more Infected. We could have populated the world a little bit more. We could have really, really, really grown the Joel and Ellie relationship. Something that's a big part of the game, which you don't see in the show, is the whole time you're playing as like Joel, Ellie is following you, and she's constantly like helping you in small ways. So you see this in the finale a little bit. There's that part where Joel looks up and he sees the ladder, and he can't get up there himself. So he boosts Ellie up to get the ladder. She gets it for him, and then he's able to progress with her. Well, the whole game is like that, right? You're constantly helping one another. You're constantly doing different things for each other. And that really grows the relationship in a way that the show doesn't really demonstrate. My suggestion would have been to really show them having to survive 1 or 2 times and doing that kind of stuff. So maybe they're walking along the road, and Joel's like, you know, we only have enough food for 1 more day. So what are we going to do? We're going to have to go scavenge. And maybe they go out and scavenge. And during the scavenging thing, they have to work together to get through something. Maybe he has to boost her up into a vent to unlock a door. I don't know, I'm speculating here. But if it just showed us and having them work, like if it showed us them working together more and trying to survive and helping each other out, then I think we would have just naturally gotten a more like progressive relationship where, you know, maybe the first few nights of their relationship, as we see in the show, Joel's not really happy with her. He's kind of stern, kind of annoyed. She's clearly annoyed. We never really get kind of like a middle ground type thing. It kind of just transitions to like, oh, now she's like my daughter. And I don't know. I just didn't like that so much. I will say, though, if you're not thinking about the game and you're just thinking about this as like a standalone show, it's a really good show. it's just a very good drama, very well acted. The action is great when there is action. I still think if you're forgetting the game and you're just looking at it as a show, I think they really were still hurting on the Infected. I would have liked to see more of that. And one more thing is that the visuals, you could actually... I haven't played The Last of Us since it first came out. I never played any of the remasters, and I never replayed the game. But holy shit, I still remembered exactly how the game scenes like looked when you got to there. I got to the hospital. I was like, oh my god, this looks exactly like the game. There's like random camps and like run-down buildings that they go to. It just looks exactly like the game, and it's so cool to see. So that is one thing I really liked. But overall, the show, for me, was kind of a big letdown. Again, I don't really care if a show is faithfully adapted. I just want the show to be good. But to me, in the game, the group, or the pairing, rather, of Joel and Ellie just was so much stronger. And in the game, the characters were just... of Joel and Ellie were a lot more fleshed out. But it seemed like the show fleshed everyone out really well, except... And even Joel and Ellie are fleshed out very well. It's just not... The relationship isn't fleshed out that well. And so the show did a really good job of expanding that and fleshing out, like, side characters. But, man, I don't know. It just felt like they sped through so much stuff. Even Marlene's death at the end of the show, it felt so rushed. Everything felt so rushed. And I just would have liked it to slow down a bit. Anyway, that's my opinion on The Last of Us. I think it was a good show. I have a lot of issues with it, knowing the story from the games. It's really weighing down the score for me. If I had to give the show a score out of 10, I think maybe I would give it, I don't know, 6 out of 10 maybe. Like, it's a good show. It's a fine show, but there's just so many things I wish that they had expanded on it. I really wanted to see more of their relationship. I really think that they just fast forwarded through everything. The finale, it was so rushed, right? Like, the whole part when they get to the Fireflies in the game, it just feels so much more significant. It feels so much like there's more there. And this, it's just like they arrived and now Joel has to go on a killing spree. There's just no emotion there. The game, it was so much more stronger. You're just like, oh my god, I'm killing everyone. I need to get to Ellie because they're killing her. I don't know. I just didn't feel like that in this show. But anyway, I've ranted long enough. If you like the show, I think that's great. I can see why you would like the show. It is a good show. It's just knowing the story of the game, I just think it really had its problems. If you agree or disagree, I'd like to hear it in the comments down below. And otherwise, I think that's about it. So thanks for listening, and hopefully I see you on the next one. Bye.